Episode 314. Ever since learning Lord Grimm's identity, Poplar Car had been flooded with countless conjectures. This one, in his view, was the most plausible scenario. Meanwhile, on the other side, Boundboat continued his explanation.
Alright, from this moment on, we'll handle Lord Grimm with a more natural approach. Next, everyone will definitely head to the Lion Canyon dungeon. Lord Grimm has a high chance of being there right now, so let's split up. Send people to every dungeon entrance, and keep an eye out for Lord Grimm's movements. If anyone spots him, report it immediately.
The guild members acknowledged the plan.
Exactly as it should be.
Once the various guilds had settled on their plan, they dispersed, the vast majority heading straight for Lion Canyon. On Yi Shu's side, after smoothly meeting up with Tang Ru and Qiao Yifan, they entered the dungeon. The players from the 7 major guilds were spread across the 50 dungeon entrances, which just about used up all their manpower. During the dungeon runs, the only chance to run into Ye Shu and his crew was the split-second entering or exiting an instance. That required a fair bit of luck. So the night passed without incident, but the two sides were in very different states of mind. With the major guilds having a new plan, the night passed rather easily. Everyone just went about their business, keeping an eye out for Lord Grimm among the players around them. As for Ye Shu, he was of course unaware that the major guilds had changed their plans. They were still operating with the same cautious mindset as before. After finishing a dungeon run, they couldn't be sure if the exit was already being watched. They had to take a detour and use a different entrance. Beaten Dan's judgment was undoubtedly correct. Under these circumstances, as long as Ye Shu and his team were kept under this pressure, forced to waste a little time each day on these detours, it would add up. Their leveling speed would inevitably be severely hampered. Tang Ru, however, was rather hoping to run into some troublemakers. In her mind, PvP was already more fun than PvE. But that night left Tang Ru disappointed. They emerged from their first dungeon run without incident, circled around, and went back in. They came out from their second run, circled again, and still nothing happened. They went in a third time. When they came out, Su Mucheng and Qiao Yifan had logged off. Ye Ku, Tang Ru, and Baozi, as usual, made another loop. Still, no one tailed them, and they didn't run into any boss either. Chen Guo was in surprisingly high spirits today. Having fully grasped the benefits of heavy metal, he was on a roll, winning more and more matches, and for a time, he couldn't bring himself to leave. The only real buzzkill was the occasional player who still mistook him for the Lord Grimm of the earlier era, calling him expert and coming over to pester him with all sorts of nonsense. On Ye Shu's side, they emerged from their third dungeon run around 3 o'clock. Under normal circumstances, 3 consecutive runs would be finished within 2 hours. Ye Shu and his team, however, wasted some time selecting the weekly dungeon entrance. Chen Guo had also reached her limit at this hour, a stark departure from her usual routine. After a seemingly endless string of yawns, he practically fought the PK match with his eyes closed. Hearing Tang Ru's laugh, Chen Guo jolted awake and finally made up her mind to go to sleep. Of course, the new keyboard and mouse wouldn't stay on a public terminal. After swapping them out, he temporarily placed them at the front desk.
Fine, you've got a point here. You can have this mouse.
Once it was set, the spare mouse was tossed to Ye Shu. With a casual wave of his hand, he bid goodnight and headed back upstairs to his room. Ye Shu swapped out the mouse right then and there, a simple plug-and-play operation. As his hand closed around the Breeze 7, a wave of familiar sensation washed over Ye Shu's right hand.
What now?
Tang Ru's voice came through the headset.
Let's grind. We need to focus on leveling up. Honestly, the best way to hit back at these guilds is for us to just focus on leveling up.
He knew Tang Ru was eager to clash with them, but this constant back-and-forth fighting, even if it dealt significant damage to these guilds, offered Ye Shu and his team little real benefit beyond the sheer pleasure of it. On the contrary, it cost them a huge amount of leveling time. This kind of mistake is, in theory, the same as when Liu He lost his form in official matches because he was too fixated on competing with Ye Shu. Ye Shu wasn't about to make the same mistake. After delivering a few convenient blows to the major guilds as a lesson, he wouldn't keep actively provoking them. Ye Shu was a seasoned veteran, his mind sharp and unshakable.
Then shall we head to the Glazed Lands dungeon?
From an efficiency standpoint, even at level 33, grinding the Glazed Lands dungeon is far more suitable than just killing mobs in the training area. But the Glazed Lands are nothing like One Line Gorge. There's no maze-like terrain, and the number of players from the major guilds hanging around there is only greater. It's just not very convenient to go there right now. In the end, the three of them left One Line Canyon and headed instead to Blazing Forest to level up. Ye Shu set Tang Ru and Steamed Bun on specific training regimens, using monster slaying to level up while constantly refining their combat techniques. And so, the night passed. The next 2 days passed in much the same way. Ye Shu was gradually sensing the strategic shift from the major guilds. In the past 2 days, the major guilds had only attempted to kill them 3 times. Each attempt was clearly a hastily organized spur-of-the-moment operation. 2 of those attempts were against Ye Shu's Lord Grim, but he managed to slip away both times. Another attempt was against Steamed Bun Invasion, and this time they succeeded, sending him back to the city. Fortunately, the group had recently changed their respawn point to Bursa Town, so that's where they revived after death. Otherwise, if it were Kongji City, given the current strategies of the major guilds, they might not be so brazen as to set up roadblocks right at the city gates. But if Steamed Bun Invasion, already spotted, got careless and left the city, he'd still be tailed and killed all over again. Upon hearing this, Ye Shu remained outwardly calm, offering Baozi a few words of reassurance. Baozi declared he was a big shot who'd weathered many storms. Dying once or twice? That was just a minor scene, not worth mentioning. Ye Shu wasn't convinced. Not worth mentioning? Then who was it that flew to message me the second I logged on, telling me they'd died once already?
Ah, that's exactly what I was afraid of.
Ye Shu didn't voice it, but inwardly he sighed. The enemy wasn't doggedly pursuing them like before, yet they always kept this right to harass. Ye Shu and his team had no way of knowing when the enemy might spring an ambush. They could only remain on constant guard. Yet at times like these, the other side might have no intention of hunting them at all, simply leveling up in peace. But how could Ye Shu and the others know that the major guilds were only maintaining a 20% or even a 1% pursuit state? They, however, had to remain at 100% defensive readiness at all times. Otherwise, a single moment of carelessness would lead to a situation like Steamed Bun Invasion's. 10% of his experience, just gone in a flash.
How about this? Every time we see one of these guys, we beat them up.
Baozi had once suggested exactly that.
If killing someone gave you experience, I'd be all for it.
Ye Shu replied. He had a specific goal in coming to the new server, and didn't want to waste too much time or energy on this kind of conflict.
Let's smash another dungeon record and rub their noses in it.
Tang Ru made the suggestion, but Ye Shu once again held a different view.